What's up, dudes? Welcome back to the channel. I am listening to Joel Salatin. Might have butchered the last name. You guys had put it in the comments 2 videos ago where you're like, you got to go check out this Joel guy. Well, I'm cruising through YouTube, and Doug Casey has a podcast today, and I listen to every single Doug Casey podcast the minute it comes out, most of the time twice. And lo and behold, he's got a guest on, and it's Joel. And I'm listening to Joel talk, and turns out Joel's like this really awesome regenerative farmer. Exactly what we were saying in the fertilizer video, which is like, okay, there's going to be fertilizer shortages. And what's the problem? You know, and I know that might be, well, I don't think it's heartless. I think it's just like, we've been doing one thing for a long time, and it's the wrong thing, and we're finally getting slapped in the face for it. And the only thing I hear from other YouTubers, which mean well, they mean well, which is like, there's going to be fertilizer shortages, which would mean there's going to be food shortages, which is bad. And I'm like, good. More food shortages. Like, we need this. Human beings in North America and around the world need to wake up and figure out what exactly is happening. And we need to go back to our roots. We need to look at how the Native Americans did this. We need to look at the accounts of Lewis and Clark in the 1800s, early 1800s, of how abundant the Great Plains were. They have an account of not seeing the sky for 3 days, the sun for 3 days, because of the abundance of pigeons out there blocking out the sun. Now, maybe that's an exaggeration, but for 3 days, that's a lot of birds, more birds than I've ever seen. His point is that, you know, we used to do things. There used to be over 200 varieties of vegetation on an acre of land out there in the Yellowstone area and all throughout North America. And it grew in different depths of the soil. It grew at different times. It kept the topsoil good. It had different organisms and microbes in it. And so I'm listening to Joel. I'm gonna play a clip because essentially they're asking, Doug Casey and Matt Smith are asking them, hey, we have farms now. Those guys are down there in Uruguay. A couple of you guys that actually asked me, would I consider Uruguay? I feel like it's because you follow Doug Casey and Matt Smith as well. And I was like, oh yeah, I've never been there, but like, it's, you know, it's gotta be okay, right? And so anyway, they have some large farming operations, not huge, a couple hundred acres. Doug's sitting on 1,000 acres, and they're trying to farm it, trying to get ideas off of Joel. Joel basically has said there's a prohibition and regulations that really squeeze out smaller farmers. We see this with declines of empires, and we're in a declining empire. I mean, that's just what it is. Like, you know, are there going to be food shortages? Yeah, because you're living in a declining empire, and the entire world is approaching this reset event. And it just means like there's going to be currency resets, there's going to be power structure resets. Russia and the Ukraine, they're going to square off. You know, China, they're going to buddy up with Russia. Our American elites don't know what to do. We have an overpopulation of American elites. So like the managerial class, higher education, Princeton, Yale type of graduates. We have too many of them and not enough things for them to do. And so, you know, these things happen. This always happens in a declining empire. Let me play you Joel, though. This, where he's talking about the issue in local ag or small ag is in the selling of product. Let's say I want to sell you one of my chickens. Well, I need to be fully compliant with USDA, the Food and Drug Administration, or I think it's called the Fear and Death Administration. So I have to be fully USDA, like Fear and Death Administration complied, even if my chickens are way higher quality than the garbage you buy at the grocery store is pumped up with hormones. And so he's essentially saying the way around this now is gray areas because the bureaucracy has gotten so bad. And he's basically hitting on an NFT, which I want to unpack this idea. But he's talking about membership clubs, almost like golf clubs.
Associations, PMAs. So these are modeled after a country club, a golf agreement. Those are non-public things, and nobody can just walk in there and play golf at a membership country club. And so we've got smart attorneys who are taking that template and applying it to the food, so that you are now a member, and the money that transfers is not a sale. It's an interest or a dividend on your investment, and so it's wonderful stuff. We have a lady in North Carolina that started a food church. You join the church and you get this stuff. We've got a guy in Louisville, Kentucky. He actually has a storefront, a members only down, close them down, and they can't because what people do is they invest, and then when they go and they take product out, but customers, it's simply a debit on their investment.
So what he's getting at is he's like, yo, there's ways to do farming better, and essentially we can do membership groups and get around these laws. And the reason that you don't see a lot of smaller farm operations is because they have to comply with these BS laws. And he nails it about 3 minutes before this. I'll link to the episode. He's like, we're in a declining empire, to which I'm like, thank you. That's what I'm saying. But the good news is that we're having this conversation. You know, we're like 5 years ago, I'm talking about bobcats on here. I'm talking about, you know, I was always into compost. You can go on my Instagram and find an old school picture of compost, and we're messing with that. Nobody had any interest in it, and I called it Florida Gold. Big mountain of compost. I could have marketed it differently. It would have went, but you learn and you live, or you live and you learn. And so, anyway, he's essentially nailing what I see an NFT being used for in the future. I know right now NFTs are essentially good ways to launder money. All right, instead of, you know, the youngest Biden child or whatever getting involved in the art market so that people can buy his paintings for hundreds of millions of dollars as a legal form of moving around currency, you can just do it quicker and easier with NFTs. And so I understand that part of it's a bubble, part of it's just a giant money laundering situation. But what I love about it is that I have this idea of going to Mexico. I want to go to Mexico. I want to go down to Uruguay. I'm actually interested. I like Florida. I really like Montana because I think it's going to be a crypto capital of the world, possibly. We'll see. Definitely of America. They've got the first people to create crypto banking laws out there. So, you know, I've been looking at land out there. It's not cheap. So it's like, well, it's really ranching land out there. Florida can be really abundant and relatively cheap as far as what the yields. Here's my idea. A lot of people are not going to jump into and start doing their own regenerative farming. I get it. A lot of people are gonna be like, yo, Trav, I got like 10 grand to throw at this food problem, or 20 grand, but I can't just jump into a whole piece of land, tractor, the whole deal. All right, I'm not doing it. But they can buy a $5,000 NFT token, and they can receive shipments of mango from me, or tomatoes, or beef, or chicken, or, you know, depending on geographical location and shipping needs, you know, there could be different tiers. Your local, you know, you have shipping expenses. You figure it out. But my point there is, like, you can build a community around food shortages. You can build a regenerative solution around fertilizer shortages. You can slap the wokesters in the face by saying, like, you want carbon drawdown? Build soil. That's going to do more than taking diesel trucks off the road. It's going to do more than cutting emissions. It's going to do. You need drawdown. You need soil, and it's going to be part of the solution, and it's going to be the solution to the problem. And I just see NFTs as a way to do this. And I'd like to hear from you guys in the comments of how you see this. Obviously, right now it's co-op status. I've got a couple buddies, one that's moving down from New York next month. I'm freaking pumped about it. We spent all last weekend looking at 10-acre lots for him, 5-acre lots, some 12-acre lots. He's looking to do something. I have another buddy, I just put up a pad, a tiny house down at his place. He just got a tiny house delivered out to it. He's got 5 acres, he's got 4 acres of it planted. He's got bees, honeys, a cool brand, website, the whole thing. And I'm just into this, man. I just think that is the way forward. And I want to hear from you guys on what you guys see happening in your own communities, and let's solve these problems. I mean, I think importing a bunch of pesticide-ridden bananas from South America is not a good idea. Like, I think we should be growing them right here. We can grow unlimited bananas right here in Florida, and we can ship them anywhere. Now, I will tell you, they're organic. They go bad quick, but you can ship them green, but you don't have the shelf life you get with the pesticide ones. I actually froze one, and it turned brown immediately. I froze all mine, and they've been frozen for about 3 months now. They're still beautiful and yellow. So, you know, I want to eat good food. I'm sure you guys want to eat good food. I want it grown here. I want to create jobs and economic activity right here. I think that the currency is going to completely fall at some point here, probably this decade, maybe into the 30s. I think the US dollar is going away. It might still be a thing, might still be a brand, but, you know, we're not gonna. It's gonna be like a peso, you know. And so, look, that's good for guys that are in the farming space. That means that their costs are literally staying the same because it's regenerative farming. They don't have a lot of inputs, and the inflation is just putting that in their pocket. And if they keep the price of silver down, it means you get more silver relative to all other things. So I want to hear from you guys on what your thoughts are. My idea here is like big Mexico ranch, like big, like 5,000, 10,000 acre Mexico ranch. And if you're an NFT holder, well, that's how I raise the capital to buy the thing and farm the thing. And maybe I put up tiny house community in there. Maybe I allow people to come and go. You know, maybe if you're part of a member of the land, you get to come. You know, I mean, maybe like that's, you know, maybe essentially what we do. It's this book called Diamond Age, and maybe what we do from here is we start associating with our fellow countrymen, really based on our ideology, not necessarily on our nation of origin anymore. And I think that we're moving to a society, and it might take a couple decades to unfold, but I think we're moving to people are going to congregate with like minds and lifestyles that they want to enjoy. And I think that, you know, people that are okay having their freedom stripped and all that stuff, good for them. Have a fun time staying in Ottawa. You know, like, I'd rather take the people that agree with me and like, let's go to Mexico and like start really ranching. And like, oh, what happens if you know, the cartels come like on 10,000 acres? Like, one, I'm probably gonna be friends with the cartels. They're probably gonna be buying like compost off us. But like, two, like they essentially have their own monarchy going on, and you do too. So as long as you don't have beef, no big deal. If you do have beef, may the best monarchy win. That's how life should be. That's how life always was. And I want to hear from you guys on that thought, because as the regulations get crazier, you know, this co-op idea at a small scale makes a lot of sense to me. NFT, land ownership, massive ranch ownership, you know, food security. Like, hey, take part of your portfolio and buy this NFT, and that's going to make up 20 or 30% of your calories, and you're just going to get it FedExed overnight to you. You know, once a week, you're just going to get a crate full of whatever's growing at that time. And maybe you have a large, you know, enterprise, and you got a Mexico farm, you got a Uruguay farm, you got a farm up in Maine. You know, you got all these different things, and so your NFT holders are essentially getting something all year round, and you're basically a decentralized grocery store. I know that that's really far-fetched out there, but I see this happening. And so I see food shortages and fertilizer shortages as a necessary growing pain to get people to go, hey, we need to think about how we're doing things. And I am looking forward to hopefully not having red tide this year. I would really love for the Florida lawn care guys to please stop putting fertilizer on lawns. Please stop. Put some chickens out on there. Don't do the lawn thing. Or it doesn't have to be that green. It's still gonna be green. It's, you know, but like, we don't need the fertilizer to run off into the bay and kill all the fish every year. Please stop that. I really want to have some snook again. Like, it's been 7 years. All right, we haven't been able to like really take a slot fish, and it's like, come on, man. So anyway, guys, let me know what you think in the comments. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing these videos. If you love the channel and you like the ideas, please share them with a friend, maybe one friend or family member, and just be like, hey man, check out Trav stuff. Send them a link, and I will see you on the next video. Peace.